Instead, we are actually going to see a bit of an opening up of the jungle pool to a certain extent. Like, we're getting to see Udyr slipping through the cracks, Rumble going to be coming through. I think this is a massive mistake from Tarzan. I much prefer the Rumble jungle than I do the Udyr. Now, yes, we've seen obviously coming across that people do think that Udyr can play into the Rumble, but with the power that Rumble has in the early game, the mid game, and just the amount of control you offer in those team fights when it comes towards the equalizer, I much prefer having something like the Rumble in my squad.
Yeah, I feel as well with BLG knowing that aiming has such a fantastic pop-off game in game 1 with that Ezreal. They're going to put him back onto that. But on the side of Light and Lwandy, they're going for that Jinx Thresh combination. So that late game scaling that we didn't really see from the side of LNG in the first or in the second game, they very much have it now.
Yeah, we did see it from game 1 in their last series against V5, and the way that they actually tried to play this was more so as kind of like a bit of a clear bot, but like, I think certainly when you're able to build a composition around these, I think it can work quite well. I'm curious to see what they decide to go with now, because obviously you still got your top and your mid lane to slot into this, so we still got the decision of like, okay, well, do we want to go towards something like a Twist of Fate in the mid lane? Maybe that can try and help out on that bottom side. We use the global Jinx ult and also that global Twist of Fate to try and make plays happen towards ally in the top lane, or what exactly is going to be the game plan for LNG?
See what they want to go for now. The Lucian being banned away along with the Jace. So a lot of these AD kind of marksman threats, excuse me. I saw the LeBlanc being picked, and as soon as that, my brain just went, nope, we're going towards this. But LeBlanc banned away as well. And that seems to be a consistent ban and pick away from the side of BLG. They do not want Icon on this LeBlanc, be it they don't, no problem playing it, but if they're not going to play it, they're going to ban it.
It's actually started to sneak in more and more to the mid lane pool across the board. It just seems to be a strong blind pick. It can work well in a lot of situations, can do relatively well in team fighting scenarios where it can look for flanks, it works relatively okay in kind of controlling side waves as well. So just a pick that's definitely risen to priority on patch 11.11. However, we are into our second round of picks. ppgod getting his hands back on the Leona. This screams to me that they are picking some sort of heavy carry for Zeke in the mid lane. Like, if you've gotten Ezreal and a Leona paired with this Leona is going to be moving straight towards that mid lane and trying to have big early game impact.
Well, we'll see now with the Viego and, of course, the Rumble locked in. They have plenty of flex picks, so hard to know what you're going to be going into on the side of LNG, but they do pick up the Ryze. Machine Gun Ryze is a very, very potent carry if they can go for it. And Ale onto the Camille. I love this. Camille has been a staple pick from Ale, even back when he was on DMO as natural. Like, this guy is a very, very strong top lane carry with Camille.
And I do like the way that LNG are trying to play this, right? They know that, hey, look, we're against an Ezreal. Jinx and Thresh are going to be super safe in that bottom lane. We don't have to worry about them. So instead, we are going to pick a carry for LA in the top lane. We're going to try and play towards this top side of the map. And when you've got like Tarzan on this Udyr, it's such a strong setup alongside Camille, who has multiple ways of locking down something like the Gwen. And even, don't forget, of course, Icon should have push against Zeka on this Viego. So when we see like level 3, level 4 potential roams, even level 6 when he gets access to that ultimate, it feels like LNG very much looking to play through Ale in the top side and then have that late game scaling for team fights with the fall back in the Jinx.
Yeah, good to see Zeka with the Viego into the mid lane. We did, of course, see the Viego Gwen in the first game, but it was jungle top. Now we see it in both solo laners of mid top for the side of BLG. And for LNG, I really do like this composition, like you mentioned, but for BLG, similar to game 1, where if they can get to that, 2-3 items onto most of their carries, like, their scaling is just insane. And not only that, but you also have the kind of early game shortfall, or kind of like foolproofing, if you like, of the Rumble, who's able to kind of mitigate a lot of those early kind of, lack of damage fights that you might have yourself in.
Yeah, my biggest worry for the BLG side is if we actually get to late game, I don't really see much of a threat here for Jinx in the backline. Like, unless you try and get some sort of miracle flank coming in, but it's going to be quite difficult with the peel that can come through from the Thresh and the Udyr, and unless you, like, it feels like Jinx should have a run of the mill in team fights. So I'm a bit worried that if we do get uber late, even though like BiuBiu and BiuBiu and Zeka can look great on these season 11 champions, you're still not going to have a huge amount of threat for the backline.
We'll have to wait and see. This first series going all the way to game 3, 1-1 apiece. And we're going to see now who will be able to take that all-important W into the regular split. Again, like we mentioned right at the top of broadcast, if you're just joining us, these two teams incredibly close in terms of their skill level. This is a very much a litmus test to see exactly how they fare up against each other. And right now, it is all or nothing in this game 3.
So, looks like, at the moment at least, we're going to see Tarzan starting on this top side of the map and pathing down towards bot. Just trying to play towards where he knows he has strengths in his lanes. Whereas when we look over at WeiWei, that Dark Harvest is going to be looking to do a heap of damage as he scales into the game. But again, looking to play around this top side of BiuBiu.
No, well, BiuBiu and Ale just taking a bit of a trade there. As you can see, the sweeping leg. Coming in for a nice little bit of healing back on top of that, so nothing to be too concerned about. Zeka gonna obviously have a little bit of a hard time going up against the Ryze once he hits that level 3 and onwards, just because of the extra little bit of range he gets in terms of his Q and be able to spam it. But looking down across the board, we can see now actually a little bit more kind of, I think Conqueror is the rune of choice nowadays, pretty much for everybody across the board if you're a jungler or an AD carry.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's pretty nice going through for the Ezreal and certainly for this Gwen in the top side because, as you can see, BiuBiu is having a wonderful all-time training against Ale in this top lane. Like, this is not a fun matchup at all for the Camille. You can see there, like, the ability to have true damage and the early access to healing, alongside BiuBiu getting multiple dashes that he can use to try and play around the hookshot, makes it really hard to try and play this lane without some sort of jungle intervention. So, at the moment, you're going to see BiuBiu pushing in, zoning off Ale from a lot of the CS, until we can get Tarzan and Icon to have access to the top lane and try and play it a little bit more heavily towards Ale.
I'm curious to see now as well with Tarzan. We mentioned how important it is for him to have pivotal roles in the side of LNG. He is on a very fast clearing Udyr, so should be able to have a little bit more agency around the lanes than he did on, say, like the Echo or the Diana, which obviously, you know, have a little bit slower clear than your average jungler. And for WeiWei, how does he respond to that pressure? Both these guys very, very quick off of their camps. You'll see them do full clears and have enough time to pick up scuttles just before they spawn.
I think the only downside kind of for LNG in this game is, like, usually when you see like a winning bot lane and an Udyr, they'd love to be able to start up on these dragons super early. But I feel like the second you actually hear that cry out from the dragon that it's gone down, it's like just a go button for BLG in that top lane. You have so much potential to deal with Ale underneath the turret that it's just not going to be fair, essentially, if you end up, even just with WeiWei and BiuBiu. You can see it here, right? WeiWei walks up and Ale straight away has got to get out of there. Now, does at least have the support. We were talking about that level 4 roam potentially coming in from LNG, and it looks like they're going to try and help out a little bit for Ale up here in the top side.
Oh, in the bot lane, Lwandy was caught out, but it was an actual favorable trade of summoners in favor of LNG, excuse me. BLG end up losing the Ignite and the Flash. I'm curious to see now how that whole exchange went, as we see the TP from Ryze going into the mid lane. Icon making sure he does not lose pressure, just trying to pick up his tier as early as possible, keep that mana sustain going. And this wave will just crash in. It's not going to be that big of a deal, but we'll see now. There's the hook, does land, and actually, yeah, they just fully commit onto it after everything's pretty much down. No traps, no flame, no hook, and everyone has to kind of back away.
Yeah, again, Lwandy just taking a step a bit too far forward, and now you do have to be very careful. You can see Zeka TPing down to the bot side. They were trying to make these plays happen, but honestly, I think a bit of a blunder from BLG, right? They don't actually get the play here. Yes, you will lose out a bit of CS to this bot lane turret, but you're losing out way more in mid, and you're now giving Icon full control of this mid lane to start looking for potential roams. And we already kind of highlighted BiuBiu, for me, seems to be where you should be pointing your early game to try and shut down Ale and not give LNG any sort of access around the map.
It does feel like the longer this matchup on topside goes, the easier it becomes, at least for Ale, once he gets his cooldown reduction onto his abilities. And Tarzan, I wonder if he's listening to the English broadcast and me asking him if he'll, sort out a carry top laner in Ale. But with the wave pushing as far as it is, very difficult to make anything happen right now, as Ale's trying his very, very best to bait out as much as possible. And just has to back himself away. Now WeiWei sees himself on a ward, uses the scanner to get rid of it, and everyone just kind of resets. But that's still, as you said, advantage to BiuBiu in this top side.
Yeah, but it's so hard for LA to try and play this matchup. Like, don't forget, like, the center of the Q is true damage as well. Plus, it heals off the passive from the Gwen as well. So, like, you've so much healing, so much obnoxious poke. It's true damage too. So, like, like, the shields from the Camille don't even block half of it. Like, everything about it sucks.
Oh, speaking about sucking, Zeka not gonna suck today. Did feel bad, though, to lose his flash, as the flash bear slap was coming in. Lwandy is here, but ppgod slowly in tow. Now, with the vision now accrued and created around this dragon pit, we might see them go for a bit of a play. They know there's no flash on ppgod. ppgod's in a hell of a lot of trouble. They use the hook. They're going to get the Q in as well, the dark passage, and then they can flash in. There's Ryze trying to go for something, but this Jinx, it's just free firing. They're trying to see if they can get some more going on top of this. Tarzan able to try and get one more Q. No, not quite. Zeka will get the reset, but you can see Icon and Light are still alive. They're still healthy, and they're still able to put out the DPS. LNG taking that fight 4 for 2.
Just about able to eke that one out, but that is a big win for LNG. A lot of gold going into the hands of Jinx. She only picked up the 1 kill, but a bunch of assists as well, and that now means that you've got another proper lane that you can play around for LNG. Like, you can now look towards more of these dragons. You can look to accelerate this Jinx, and if she's able to have a bit more impact in the mid game and match aiming strength off of 2 items, you're going to be in a much better spot when it comes towards these later fights.
Not only that, Icon picked up 2 kills off of that, so he just went straight back, picked himself up the Sorcerer's Shoes and the Lost Chapter as well. So he is sitting very, very pretty into this mid lane, so far accelerated. And Ryze is someone who can just take over games. Normally we don't see the Realm Orbs being utilized so early. It's normally a late game kind of, you know, catch someone out, get a sneaky tower, get a sneaky objective. But that was just really well played from Icon.
Yeah, the way we see Ryze take over games, though, is usually a side lane, right? It's not traditionally in team fights, just because a whole heap of your damage is going to just be blasted into the front line. Now, in a game like this, though, not so much of an issue, as the front line for BLG is relatively squishy, but I still think, yeah, Icon getting this lead means he can play off through side lanes and try and use that Realm Warp more effectively.
Big advantage, accruing into a 1,000 gold lead here for LNG as they try and find themselves a victory here. 1-1, of course. This is basically a best of 1. And then we'll see if they're able to make anything else happen with a good vision control, though, from the side of BLG, just kind of scattered around that bot side. Very difficult for anyone really on the side of LNG to sneak in, make anything really work for them. So you can see there, they walk in, they have to walk away because ppgod is there. ppgod has got a red trinket to be able to kind of scroll around this jungle, make sure there's no extra wards being put down.
You can see how difficult it is for both these teams to try and prioritize these objectives, though, right? Because although LNG have control of bot side, we already talked about, look, this actually frees up Ally's threat top, which we might actually see, but managed to escape away. But if LNG commit to a bot dragon, BLG will commit to Herald and to a kill on top lane towards Ally. But as LNG, you can't even really commit towards this Herald top because you've got full control for BiuBiu in that top side. So unless you move by 1D up, you don't really have a man advantage, and you can't do that because you're under constant threat of being engaged on by ppgod's Leona. So you're kind of all over the place in this one, but as I say that, both teams will go to the respective sides of the map, be able to try and pick these objectives up. I'm just, with Ally resetting, it does mean that at least he won't be dove, but does lose a turret plate on top side.
And they trade the turret plate, though, for the turret plate in bot lane. One more will go down pretty damn easily for the side of Light and Lwandy if they are able to push this one in. Might be a little bit careful, though. They don't know exact information of where this rumble is. And there is a little bit of an issue there should they end up getting caught out. So flash is available for ppgod, so that definitely is an option for them. No flash for Light or aiming. They pretty much use them at the exact same times. And again, we're moving in towards this mid-game. It's a dragon to a Rift Herald. Power now versus power later. And that Rift Herald probably, will be great to use in a lane like this topside just to begin, like you said, accelerate BiuBiu to a point where Ally is not really a factor.
Yeah, what you're trying to do is make sure that this Gwen can continue to heavily win out on this top lane. Because if you're in that situation, cool, now you can try and avoid Light on this Jinx. But my biggest issue is, like, when I look towards LNG, traditionally with their victories, the game wins have come through Light. Like, he has been the big player. I remember we started to see him on like picks like the Tristana really popping off. Now he's on a Jinx, which pretty far accelerated. You've already got some plates on him. He's got some kills under his belt. So he's going to be a menace. And I'm not sure if we end up in these situations where for BLG they have to fight for dragons and contest some of these objectives, that they don't just fall by the wayside as these rockets from the Jinx come out.
Well, ppgod with Flash, Solar Flare available to him as well. Looks like they want to try and burn down Icon. WeiWei is here with the Equalizer in tow, but they actually find Lwandy, who's in a little bit of trouble. He flashes just as it gets hit by the Q. And yeah, that's all she wrote. Very, very quick, easy kill there for BLG. Didn't even have to waste any big ultimates or summoners.
Yeah, and the thing here for BLG is now they've got full control of mid and bot, because they can actually look for Icon. Mid, as you can see, they're threatening here, but as Light, you cannot approach this wave, because if I'm WeiWei and ppgod, I can turn straight down towards this bottom side as you're seeing right now, and I can look to go for a dive before LNG get in position.
Well, it looks like BLG think that they're going for that one, but it's going to be Lwandy in a little bit of trouble should he walk up towards this bush. He needs to not go there. Solar Flare, Equalizer, that's going to be a quick kill. 2 quick kills onto Lwandy. Light trying to back himself away. There are the flashes. There is not the hook, unfortunately, for the side of BLG. They do end up using both WeiWei and Zeka's flash. They only get the 1 kill. Now you can see Icon on your map roaming up towards this top side, maybe looking to try and make a replay or a reactionary play, but BiuBiu's well wise to it, just needs to back himself out.
How dare Zeka think as a mid laner he can make us a poor player's play? But anyway, I don't have time to joke about that because ppgod's caught.
ppgod is caught again. No health, no mana, no way out. He will fall. The Hextech ultimate comes down onto him, but the TP came down on the backside, so there's 2 kills straight off the bat, straight away for LNG. They make up for those 2 Lwandy deaths, and they get themselves back into a winning position. And BLG just not resetting, not getting themselves set up, but they just get caught with their hands in the cookie jar.
Yeah, nice play from LNG to realize, though, that they were going to be able to make that play. They even get away with daylight robbery, stealing the blue, realm warping away, and I mean, look, LNG, they're looking pretty good right now. 2k gold lead, a lot of that situated on towards the 2 carries in Icon and in Light. Plus, Ally, who's been struggling in this top side, managed to get some kills. He's managed to get an assist. The Divine Sunder are now completed. It's going to make this top lane matchup just that little bit smoother for the LNG laner.
Yeah, kill worth about 18 minions or so brings up that, like, little bit of a deficit, but it's a good use of a TP, and yeah, they just got caught out.
Yeah, but the thing was, they timed this so well, right? They knew that the Gwen was resetting, so they find that window of opportunity to make this play work. And you see there, Ally flashing out, keeps himself safe. You now got a Rift Herald that was about to time out, popped into this bottom lane, and looks like they're going to go all in and seeing, hey, look, Aiming, you carried us in the last game. Let's see if you can make it happen again.
Yeah, won't be able to take the tower just yet, though, so it is going to just be plates. That will equal up the gold to about 1,000, so just get them a little bit more on equal terms, as we can see Ale now using his little bit of knowledge on that the jungler was bot side to steal himself a red. Has got himself a honey fruit as well to make sure he's as healthy as can be and get himself back into that top side.
Yeah, did lose a wave underneath the tower though for that excursion, I'll say, into the enemy camp, so not entirely worth, but still, look, you can tell what Ale is trying to do. He's just trying to scavenge anything that he can muster right now in this top side and making sure that he's not falling too far behind. And honestly, he's done an incredible job of it. There was so many ways that WeiWei and BiuBiu could have tried to punish in towards this top side of the map. We talked about dives and everything else, but Ale resetting the right time, keep himself safe, not giving BLG that opportunity. And now, BLG potentially looking at this dragon on bot side, but with it being a cloud dragon, LNG are kind of happy to just give this across and continue to get this Jinx stronger and stronger.
Yeah, keep farming money and experience into that Jinx. Get those rockets pumping, as you would say, as we can see, get the Kraken Slayer up to this top side. BiuBiu might be in a little bit of trouble. There is a wayward man bear roaming around that top side. Next wave will be coming in, and that does mean that with the jungler top side for LNG, they have to back themselves away. They will stop a red buff steal, and they have to push themselves forward now as they see that the bot lane turret will be dropping to Aiming. And like you said, just kind of making sure that Aiming is getting as much gold as he possibly can. Popped off in game 2, maybe he can pop off in game 3.
Yeah, on the opposite side, though, you can see this is being traded, right? Tarzan now starting to give some attention towards Ale to make sure he's okay. And especially with the Light and Lwandy clearing out that bot side jungle as they left, you don't actually get to trade this back as WeiWei. So a nice win for Tarzan in that jungle matchup too, as he managed to take all of WeiWei's top side. So LNG actually trading very effectively in that way, and I'm actually kind of putting it down as a win for LNG in the grand scheme of things.
Well, a lot of gold, though, for WeiWei. He's got 3-2-1, so he's got almost all of the kills for his team. Whereas, as you said earlier, LNG spread relatively equally among Icon and Light. As BLG now try to reclaim that topside jungle. And this is where things start to get a little bit interesting. There is a Rift Herald available, will be available for the next 3 and a bit minutes. But do they want to try and force anything? That is the question. Aiming, you need to be... Yeah, aiming needs to be careful. That was a red buff on the Jinx. You will be slowed.
The thing, though, is that, like, even though LNG are definitely in control and doing really good work around the map, they're not really in a position to go and just fight outright. Aiming has... Unless they just kill Aiming. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, unless Aiming gets caught.
But with the Divine Thunder there, Aiming should be able to heal up. He does a lot of damage as well, but it looks like, honestly, BLG don't really want to fight this. But I was looking, right? Night Harvester for WeiWei. That Equalizer will hurt a ton. You've got the double Divine Thunder completed by Zeka and also for Aiming. Like, they've hit a really nice item spike, but it looks like they don't actually want to contest this. They're more interested in trying to see if they can set up some side lane pressure with Zeka and get BiuBiu back up to this top side.
Gonna be keeping an eye on Lwandy with his Dark Passages coming into the next few fights. Of course, the Dark Passage, fantastic at just mitigating a hell of a lot of that pressure you're able to put down as ppgod. Might be in a little bit of trouble. Does get slowed down, but I think this is just all, again, towards the pressure that is that mid lane turret. You get that down. It's kind of been the biggest, you know, crux, I suppose, if you will, of LNG's so far this series. They've yet to kind of really take that one first in the games that we've played. As we can see now, Solar Flare was used onto the Light, so that's actually why they can't even really defend this one. There's no big CC there to kind of push in. That's 2 pushes from that Rift Herald, means that mid lane is just dead and buried once they get another push.
Yeah, I mean, but Light!
Oh, not quite. Not quite. There is an ult. Not going to hit anybody right between the sticks, but... Yeah, a little bit overstepped there from LNG, and then that might end up being the mid lane turret traded back, but a good Realm Warp does push back BLG. They've got the Ryze there with the Everfrost. He can just clear out so many of these waves so quickly.
I've never seen more of a, Light got bullied by Aiming, and his older brother showed up with the boys to take care of him. That was like, he was
Which
just like...
Which kid was it? You point him out.
Yeah, exactly. It was just like, nothing's happening around here. But, I mean, look, still, you can see what we're talking about, right? That Aiming is massive. This Divine Thunder is such a big spike for these champions, and if you're able to layer that with an Equalizer, that would have been a dead light. So you cannot just go and hard force these objectives. You still need to respect the champions and the item spikes that BLG have hit. Now, with Dragon in a minute, it feels like this again should be going towards BLG, and I want to see what LNG can do to try and trade up effectively. Now, you can look at where Tarzan's positioned. It looks like they might even consider a topside dive, even with Light and Lwandy moving up here as well.
See what they want to go for. Gonna go for that red buff seal, though. And that's actually the red buff being stolen twice away now, so you can see those camps just kind of whittling away, and this is the power you get when you lose that mid lane turret. It's why it's considered the most important tier 1 in the game. It just opens up those side lanes and, you know, opens up the map just a little bit more for whichever team is able to take it. So a 2,000 gold lead at the moment, 30 seconds until that Mountain Drake does spawn. It's going to be about who's able to get the early advantage. I feel like it feels like kind of whoever's set up first does end up having a much bigger advantage in these team fights.
Definitely, but even as we said before, like, this is more so, I don't want to see LNG fight this if I'm an LNG fan. You're not in a position to go for it, but as I say, that may slight of overextension in mid.
Well, BLG a little hesitant to fully commit to that. BiuBiu, though, is sitting off onto the side brush. And that's not really where you want to be away from your team. Tarzan not got a huge amount of damage, or sorry, damage, I should say mana, as we see the Super Mega Death Rocket come out. Solar Flare does get dropped on top of, as well as the True Shot Barrage and the Equalizer. BiuBiu, though, might be in a little bit of trouble, has to flash away to get himself out to safety. That's a lot of engage tool now. The Equalizer, the Solar Flare, they're all missing, and the TP from Zeka was used as well. I think you just got to give this up if you're BLG.
Yeah, and right as we were praising Aiming in the last game, saying, hey, look, you hard carried He's not having the best performances this time, consistently getting caught out by Light, taking below a quarter HP, which means that honestly, BLG don't really have anything left in the tank to help out. And you can see there the confidence from Light as well, just tanks up the Solar Flare, being like, hey look, yes, I can take this, but you're not actually going to be able to kill me. And now top.
Oh, speaking of being able to kill somebody, they're actually going to use the Dark Passage beautifully to bring in a TP, and that's going to mean Zeka falls. The TP there from BiuBiu. They flash in there with the Camille. He's got the Hextech Ultimatum on top of Eamon, the man he needs to kill, and this is everyone from LNG just on the right page. They get themselves the clean ace, the Baron to follow, LNG in control.
And every single time, it's BLG caught out of position. WeiWei this time on the Scuttle Crab, not respecting where LNG were. They pick off the Rumble before the rest of BLG can show up. And now LNG net themselves this Baron. They've already got the Dragons in their favor. And a Jinx this accelerated with this much control of the game is terrifying.
Great engage, and it just feels like BLG just overstepping. Feels like they're kind of overextending, and it's a couple of times. Bot lane, they overextended, got caught out. Now they go for a scuttle to try and make sure, you know, they have that vision, get caught out. They're just not respecting the fact that, unlike in Game 2, this game, they have 2 teleports on LNG.
Yeah. And you can see the damage from Icon here. 407. He is churning out this damage, and you just don't have the survivability left. And now, because Ale, yes, he got set behind early, but he's done a great job of finding these fights that he can get himself to those item breakpoints. He's now in a position where you can see diving the backline, consistently threatening BLG, and making sure that LNG are able to take those fights.
Well, Baron in hand. They've got themselves a 6 or nearly 7,000 gold lead as they now start to put the pressure into these side lanes. Now, with the Ravenous Hydra and the Divine Sunderer, like you mentioned, very, very difficult for BiuBiu to go toe-to-toe with this guy anymore. He has the sustain, he has the wave clear, and he has the killer instinct, if you will, and the items to back it up. So that's going to be the final tier 2 or tier 1 tower outside, going down in favor of LNG. And this is kind of snowballing out of control for BLG, and it does feel like momentum's a big thing in this game. Both, you know, kind of Game 2 and now in Game 3, we're seeing the momentum is favoring the team that gets it, is aiming, gets caught out. That tower was on nothing. Oh. Why were you there? There's a Super Mega Death Rocket to seal his fate. The Equalizer comes down to try and kill off Ale, and of course to kill off Icon. Icon will fall, but that mid lane is going down. They might have cracked the base.
Yeah, they're going to crack the base, and again, it's Light showing up big. We talked about this guy, how he's the one, when the snowball starts, he's the one pushing the hardest, and you see it here again. The Jinx picks off aiming, gets the snipe, and now they'll get 2 inhibitors for it.
Tarzan just sitting in front of WeiWei saying, okay, hit me, it does not matter. And that's going to be 2 inhibitors cracked open here for LNG, with a Jinx, with a Camille. This seems almost impossible for BLG to bring this back. They don't really have the wave clear to kind of deal with this kind of a threat.
If you've already lost your 2 inhibitors at 24 minutes into the game, and you're against a Jinx and a Camille, something's gone wrong. And there's been a lot that's gone wrong here for BLG. We're looking at the replay of what happened on the bot side. BiuBiu does manage to go down, but it ends up costing LNG a substantial amount there. But it doesn't matter. They end up picking off the 2 inhibitors. Now they're going to turn their eyes towards the 3rd. And there's Dragon spawning in a minute. You can literally just have Ale play off down towards that bot side, solo it, or even Icon if he wants to, and just look to continue pushing and putting the pressure on towards BLG.
Well, the Black Mist was pod out there for the side of Zeka to try and make sure WeiWei would not jump to pod. I'm sorry, I had to stop my point right there. I was just going to say, it's like the hay fever is an absolute killer, man. Yeah. As they now move up onto this top side, no Baron.
I feel like you have a love-hate relationship with summer because it's like, oh, you know, it's nice to finally get those 3 days of sun we get in Ireland, but the hay fever just destroys you.
Yeah, I'm like, my behavior's so bad, I'm on like medically prescribed like antihistamines. Like I don't get over the counter, they're not strong enough anymore for me. But nevertheless, thinking of what's strong enough, I don't think BLG's defense is strong enough to hold out against this siege. And even without the Baron buff, you can see just moving in those minions. Great work here from Tarzan, making sure, again, we talk about it so many times, dot your I's, cross your T's, make sure you're setting yourself up into a nice position. And then you just back away now. LA's got himself a way to get out. Zeka Just getting a lot of damage down on top of him, and now with minions now knocking on the door, you gotta answer, BLG. You gotta make sure that that answer is good enough to keep you in this game.
Ale's fancy feet there were kind of insane. He managed to dodge like 6 abilities all at once by just using like hook shots, some side steps. I was like, all right, Ale, I see you. Like, this guy's kind of putting on a bit of a show, and honestly, LNG are feeling it right now. There we go, though, for ppgod.
Oh no, ppgod, he just gets absolutely smashed in the team fight. They do pop down the Hextech ultimatum as well to try and take him out. Ale almost getting out. Will he be able to? Yes, he will. The flash is not enough, though, and that will give a passive reset to the Viego, which gives him a way out of this fight. It ends up being BLG, the ones who will come out on top of this one. It's a 1-for-2 trade in favor of them. Tarzan, though, still looking to see if he can push the issue, but that also means that BLG will be able to take potentially this dragon if they can get back out on the map. And actually, no, now that I look at the map, their base is in tatters. They can't risk it.
I was gonna say it's gonna be a bit of a risky play, and I don't know about trading Nexus turrets for a dragon, but look, either way, nice job from Zeka with that that flank to get in onto that top lane play, because it did shut down a lot of it. You could see Light was trying to figure out where he needed to be positioned, but couldn't quite get to it. Now, though, with the 3 members of LNG coming back out of the map, TP still available for Ale, they're going to be able to pick up this dragon, but you can see they still have to be a little bit wary about how they approach these towers, because if you end up with some good flanks, you've got the Divine Sunder and Blade of the Rune King completed for Zeka. Now you've got the Zhonya's completed for BiuBiu. Like, these guys can do a hell of a lot of damage to the backline if they get access for LNG.
Yeah, and the funny thing is as well, like that fight started horribly for ppgod. He misses his flash Zenith Blade, he misses the solar flare, doesn't force any summoners out of light, and then like you said, Zeka, big massive flank coming in that really does save that whole thing. But they're not out of the woods just yet. They are looking down the barrel of Soul Point in 5 minutes, and they have still got their inhibitors down, so the base is still cracked. They still have a lot of pressure to deal with, while also trying to make sure that they don't just fall steeper and deeper in this hole with these global objectives like the Baron coming up onto the map.
Yeah, look at where Light is, though, consistently pressuring BLG. He knows he's able to play so far forward here with Flash, with the Cleanse, Lwandy sitting back ready for Lantern as well. Like, you see, at this first sign of damage, instantly Lantern goes down, and now Lwandy's left alone without the boat, because it's gone towards Baron.
That Baron is there, but not for much longer. Blink and you'll miss it as they now go in on top of it. There it is, gone, dusted. Now the equalizer comes down, but can the fight really happen here? Ale gets down the Hextech ultimatum and gets himself out, but only just to die a little bit later. Flash away there from the rest of LNG. They don't really have the damage, and that means aiming is able to put down some work. Icon falls. They get the Baron, but at what cost?
Ale, that was not the play. He dives in over the wall, ends up giving over the kills. LNG tried to escape, but are then caught out as a result. Like, that was just a case of steal the Baron and run. But now, again, we're seeing in these games a couple of mistakes hurting these teams that are in prime position to just close out these games.
Yeah, it feels like they're just not really kind of thinking about the full thing. They lose a mid-tower. Yes, you still have the Baron buff as we look at the replay, and this Ale goes in. No one's with him. Like, that, no one is able to continue on with that fight, but a great solar flare catches out too, forces out the flash from Lwandy as well, and then Icon's just dead.
Yeah, I don't understand the thought. Like, you can see that everyone is like, right, we've got the scuttle there, we have the move speed, let's just peace out. And Ale goes in aggressive. Light knows he's in no position to try and aggress forward, and especially, like, the reason I keep kind of harping on about Light, despite the fact that Icon has been so far ahead, is, like, as we talked about already, Ryze is going to just end up churning a whole bunch of damage into like ppgod, Zeka, BiuBiu. It's not really going to be getting through this beefy front line. You'll need Light to really be dishing out that damage. You can see with 3 items already completed, working towards a 4th with that BF sword completed, it's going to be incredibly difficult for BLG to survive when Light gets rolling.
Especially as this, in 2.5 minutes time, you will have that Mountain Soul on the board. So that is another little moment of kind of, you know, worry, I suppose. Like, you know, Light's hard to kill enough, you know, as it is with the Dark Passage. Of course, he's got a hell of a lot of kite with him, with Icon and Tarzan being able to, you know, just kind of help out Lwandy with those kind of, you know, long extended fights as well. And you add in the fact that he'll have a Mountain Soul, it just becomes nigh impossible for you to really see how BLG burn through his health bar. quick enough to be able to stop him from being just an absolute monster in these team fights. And you couple that in with the fact that they have they're in the, you know, they haven't got their inhibitor turrets in mid or in bot lane. They are going to be the ones that are on the back foot should they overextend even a little bit.
Right now, though, there's a minute and a half until the next objective comes up. And although you got 30 seconds remaining on this Baron, not like the LNG are going to be able to do a huge amount with, or sorry, BLG are going to be able to do a huge amount against it. So LNG just going to back away. They're going to look to see if they can try and get some deep vision, but look how more cautious LNG are playing now. They're aware that, hang on a second, we've kind of messed up a couple of these plays. We've given BLG the opportunity to get back in, and they're just being very scared of how far they approach forward.
Well, minute now until that Mountain Drake spawns. They're going to be able to get a couple more resets in to get those final few items. You can see the wards being stocked up here for the side of LNG. They know this is their win condition. They know this is how they end. You know, they finish off this game and get themselves to that. I think it's a 2-0 start to the season, which would be fantastic for them. And right now, they're at the strongest they can possibly hope to be. The Jinx is on 4 items. I believe she has the Guardian Angel just finished up there as well. So she's kind of at as strong as she'll ever be. You know, this is the moment where if you're going to make it happen, this has to be it. And they get themselves around this Drake just a little early.
BLG need to find the flanks, though. They need to get Zeka into a position where he can actually threaten Light, because otherwise you're just going to end up having, as you can see here, Light consistently poking at you, not actually getting in a position, although there...
Oh, Ale goes in with the Hextech ultimatum. They do commit the equalizer to it. You can see a little bit of a fight between Tarzan and Zeka off to the backside, but that is a very tanky Man-Bear Pig as he jumps back in. ppgod has to flash away after the Super Mega Det Rocket. They only take one of them on top of that Realm Warp, though, and that means Icon's a little bit caught out. But Ale jumps in to try and be the hero. There is the Dark Passage to keep Icon alive. And here's the reset. Get excited, LNG, because your Jinx is popping off. They don't need the Dragon. They don't need the Baron. They don't need anything else. They just need a minion wave and to take down this game and go 2-0 in the split.
And LNG will manage to take down BLG. You can see their Light completely untouched. Zeka not able to get himself into the fight, and these Nexus turrets are not long for the world.
They are not. Ace is a little bit behind the actual play, but it's a clean one at that. The Nexus turrets fall. The Nexus as well. LNG 2-1 over BLG.
And that second game is classic LNG. That's the LNG that I expected to see, where